Hello everyone and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're doing good and well. So it's time to talk bonus tracks, and I've always been personally pretty conflicted about the bonus track as a concept or an idea, because I perfectly understand the business rationale for maybe releasing later editions of albums with bonus tracks. You know, it's to improve sales, it's to boost money making opportunities for artists, for bands, for labels, for whoever is trying to, get the best business they can out of a particular album or whatever music it is that's being released. And so I kind of understand the business perspective on having an album or a later edition of an album with bonus tracks. But equally, the art lover inside of me, the music lover, the album lover, when you get a bonus track that's really great and that you feel should have been on an original release, you can't understand why it's not on the original release. It's very frustrating. Here's why it's frustrating: because you think the bonus track would have made the original album better. You kind of want it on the original album as well, because it works well within the context of the original album, and it might even alter your perception in some cases of that original album and make the original album, better. Maybe it would change the score you'd give that album if you're a reviewer, And for me, that's my point of frustration with album tracks. It's coming more from the art lover inside of me that wants the best stuff on one album, on one record, not on edition number 3 or 4. I want those best songs on that one release, on that original album. And that's where I'm coming from with these 6 choices of examples of bonus tracks I feel would have been better placed on their original releases and not on some other edition or on some very specific release of the record. Stick these songs on the original releases, I think would have improved these albums. So let's start here with Soilwork's Martyr, which was actually on the Japanese edition of 2007's Sworn to a Great Divide. This is a great song from Soilwork. Love the melodic leads in this. I think it's got a great build-up, good release of tension in the chorus. I think that Bjorn sounds fantastic in this song, Speed. He's great, and it's just a really strong track. So I've left this one off, Sworn to a Great Divide, which I think is a pretty solid album, but I think it's one of Soilwork's weaker records. You put Martyr on this one, it improves it quite a bit for me. I think the song is so good, it probably would slightly alter my perception of that record, which I think is quite solid, as I say, but this would have improved it a fair bit, in my opinion. Now, next up, I'm talking about Within Temptations, the Unforgiving album, and a bonus track that was only on the German edition and I think on the iTunes special edition of this record. And the song is called The Last Dance, and it sort of features Sharon's she's like yodeling, she's not singing lyrics in the chorus, but she's kind of got this yodeling chorus, but it's really beautiful. And there's a key change at the end of the song where she sings even higher and it sounds even more majestic, and it's such a great song. Now, I love The Unforgiving. It was actually my album of the year in 2011, but that doesn't change the fact I think that this bonus track should have been on this original release and would have made it even better. To be honest, even though it's my album of the year, there are 1 or 2 tracks I'd quite happily trade from that album with The Last Dance. Absolutely gorgeous song. Why wasn't it on the original release? It beats me. Now, next up, I'm talking about Fear Factory and a song that was actually, I believe, supposed to be on the Industrious. It's called Enhanced Reality. It was later on a bonus edition or limited digipack version of Genexus from 2015. And again, this is a really atmospheric song, this one. Fear Factory, I think they do some good slower tracks, some quite emotional, atmosphere infused, very electronic kind of sounding songs. I think it's an example of one of those that I personally really like, and I would have loved this to have been on Genexus, maybe even more than Expiration Date, which was kind of another slower song, I think, towards the end of that record, if not the last song on that record. But I think this could have totally been on Genexus, and it would have worked fine, would have been a great track, and maybe even, I love Genexus, but again, this song might have just made me love it even more. Now, next up, this is topical because I'm talking Amorphis and their 2015 record Under the Red Cloud, which is an absolutely fantastic album. Some of you might say you can't make that album any better. I might disagree with that when it comes to the bonus track Winter's Sleep, because Winter's Sleep is an awesome Tommy Judson song with an absolute belter of a chorus. The likes you might get from a great album like Skyforge, that I think absolutely belongs on Under the Red Cloud. For me, in the second half of the record, because the first half of Under the Red Cloud, I wouldn't change any songs from the original release of that album. They're just brilliant. But the second half for me has a couple of tracks I'd quite happily trade for Winter's Sleep. And yeah, this bonus track apparently was just on the digipack release of this album. So unless you got the digipack, I'm not sure that you would have gotten this on the original version. So yeah, check out Winter Sleep if you haven't already. Great Amorphis song. I'm looking forward to their new release when that one comes out later this week. Now, next up, I'm talking about In Flames and a song from a very, very disliked record, a hated record. In fact, I'm kind of surprised this one hasn't been on Is It That Bad Yet? I don't think it's In Flames and Siren Charms. You know, particularly hated by the In Flames classicists, the purists of In Flames that don't like their sort of more emotive kind of, you know, moodier records. And this is a moody song. Granted, it's definitely embedded in that later era of In Flames that a lot of people don't like from the 2010s. But I think this is a decent track. Would have worked well as a closing track on this album, but was only on a bonus edition, I believe. In fact, it was just on old iTunes and Record Store Day editions. But I think this would have worked well as a closing song on the original album, or just on kind of one version, just on a single version of this album. I think it's a really good song, really good song. And lastly, we're going to move outside of the world of metal, just temporarily here for my last choice. We're going to talk Chvrches, the synth-pop band whose albums I ranked along with Children on a Couch and Rock of All Ages earlier this year. That was a fun time. And I think I possibly mentioned this bonus track in that episode. And you know what? This is a great song. It's called Screaming. And it was only on the director's cut version of Screen Violence, released 2 months after the original release of Screen Violence in August of 2021. So this came out in October of 2021, this director's cut version. And God, this song should absolutely have been on the original release. It would have worked perfectly fine on Screen Violence, on the original album. Don't understand why this one came out 2 months later in a separate edition. For the music fan, for the art fan, Chvrches, I'd have loved this song to have been on the original version of Screen Violence. And it might have even made Screen Violence my #1 album when I did my ranking, because the more I think about it, the more when I listen to this album, I want to hear screaming. I want to hear that song on this record. There are some tracks in this album I might trade happily for Screaming, because I think it's such a great track. Great Lauren chorus. Love the pre-chorus. You know, it's absolutely brilliant. The pre-chorus particularly I enjoy from Screaming. So why isn't Screaming on Screen Violence? I want to know. Yes, probably to boost sales, etc., etc. But from the music lover, album lover standpoint, it's just a mystery to me. Anyway, again, guys, let me know in the comments any bonus tracks you particularly enjoy that you think should have been on their original releases that weren't. And maybe the reasons why, if you want to go that deep into things too. And yeah, do you like the bonus track concept? Do you like the idea of them? Again, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, if you're new to the channel, do drop a like and a sub. And otherwise, until the next video, I look forward to that. And bye for now.